Hi, I'm Julianne Boyd,
I'm Cassidy Shirts.
and you are listening to
Pathological.
Today we're going to talk about Perez Hilton and why he's been in the news this week, as well as updates on the Lindsay and Patrick Clancy trial, because it's getting juicy. All right, top of the episode. On Wednesdays, we always kind of chit-chat first about what we've been reading, watching, listening to, whatever. So do you want to go first or me?
Yeah, I can go first.
Yeah.
This week, I read a thriller called It Could Have Been Her.
All in 1 week.
Yeah, in 1 week. It was very short, and I listened to it just while I was doing chores. So it didn't take me very long to get through it. It Could Have Been Her by Lisa Jewell.
Mm-hmm.
I read it for my book club. It was good. I feel like it's one of those books where if you ask me next week what the plot was, I'm not going to be able to tell you. I feel like as soon as I could figure out, it's one of those stories where it's jumping from the past to the present, and I was trying to get oriented in the story, but once I was there, I thought it was really good. But
nice.
Yeah, again, Lisa Jewell, she's a really good author who does lots of different psychological thrillers, but she releases them a lot, so I feel like they're just kind of like mass produced a little bit.
They're like ebooks for some people, where they're just like published, like self-publish.
Most of them are. There's a lot of them that are good, but there's also some of them that are like, But I thought this was a good one. It's her most recent release. So yeah,
say it again. It was called
It Could Have Been Her by Lisa Jewell.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And that was part of a book club, right?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys had like big discussion on it.
Well, we haven't discussed yet. We read, but we have to meet and talk about it. So
okay,
yeah.
Nice.
And then the only other thing I really saw was Spider-Man. We went and saw the new Spider-Man, and I thought it was really good. I loved it.
I haven't heard hardly anything about it. So is it another like jumping to a different point in history? Like, I don't know. Does it go back in time? There's almost always time travel in a lot of the Marvel movies, I feel like.
No. This one was not going to be super hard to follow if you're like not caught up on Marvel.
So it's not
stuff.
Multiverse, multiple timelines happening at once.
No.
Okay.
I'll say a lot of people, I've heard people say that they liked this one more than the third one, where all three Spider-Men were in it.
Tobey Maguire, Andrew
I feel
Garfield.
like nothing can compare to that Spider-Man. I thought that was so good.
It was like very epic.
Yeah.
Like not in the overused
I feel like
way,
that
but
was like
peak
of Spider-Man, of all three of them together, where this one was good. I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. Like, it was good, but I feel like my expectations are high because the last one was so good.
Okay, now I want to look up what it's getting on IMDb, because I like use IMDb scores like a religion. Like I very much.
Yeah, let me know.
Because the Rotten Tomatoes, it can be like the critic score versus the audience score, and they're always very different.
Yeah.
And then Google reviews. I like to trust Google reviews because it's mostly viewers. Anyways, okay. What's the IMDb score? Oh, it's 8.1 out of 10.
Oh,
it's Spider-Man
good.
Brand New Day is what it's called.
Yeah. I mean, now that I hear that, I'm like, it was good. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I'm not
I'm being too harsh of a critic.
I'm not a trusted critic of movies, but I thought...
I trust you as a critic.
Yeah, I thought it was really the cinematography was really interesting.
8.1 out of 10. That's a good score on IMDb.
It was good.
They do not just give out
recommend
8s,
it.
9s, and 10s easily. Okay.
Highly recommend. Tom Holland's having a great year.
I know. Getting married.
And Zendaya.
Yeah.
The Odyssey.
Yes.
They're having a great financial year.
Oh my gosh, you're right. They're both bumper crop year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Zendaya's going to be in Dune 3 at the end of the year.
Oh, you're right. Okay, maybe they had to
year.
make a ton this year, because I don't know how much they spent on the wedding, but
True.
maybe.
That's a great point.
It's like,
That's
we got to
really
work hard,
point.
play hard. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm about to take this the opposite direction and tell you about a movie I saw that was horrible. Because I've still been reading that same book by Patrick Radden Keefe. I can't get through it very quickly. I don't know. Also, last week I said it was 20 hours. It's only 10 hours. And I'm like now on hour 6 out of 10 or something. So I was way off.
Oh, no.
Samsonite, I was way off. That's a quote from Dumb and Dumber.
Oh.
All of my references are from like a million years ago. Anyways. It's called The Last House. That's the name of the movie, and it just got released on Netflix. It was like straight to Netflix.
I've seen it on as like promoted to me.
You've seen it promoted? Okay.
Yeah.
So
it has now been
promoted. It was not good, in my opinion.
Okay.
I pulled it up on Google reviews to see like what it got. IMDb gave it a 5.6 out of 10, which I feel like is way too generous, to be honest. I'm losing a little faith as we speak in IMDb scores.
Okay.
Rotten Tomatoes was 28%. That feels a little more accurate to me.
Okay.
Than like 5.6 out of 10, which is like, slightly above 50%. So the reason, I really enjoy Greta Lee's acting. I think she's a great actress. Do you know who that is? She's in like some comedic roles.
I'm pretty sure I do. Let me look her up.
I think she's of like Korean descent. Okay, and then I really like the actor, I don't know how you say his name, Wagner Moura. He plays in Narcos. He plays Pablo Escobar's character.
I haven't seen Narcos.
Oh, Narcos is so good.
I'm sorry.
It also has Pedro Pascal, and he's great. Anyways, it was just interesting to see that actor who previously played like a drug lord and like ruthless killing all these people in Colombia. It's funny to see him now in this role in this movie, The Last House. He's playing like a loving father in like a healthy, happy marriage and relationship. It's like just a really weird like record scratch moment of like,
that's funny. I mean, do you think like
I think he does a good job. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And that's why I feel bad for them. I'm like, oh man.
No, because she's in Past Lives. Have you seen Past Lives?
I haven't.
Oh, that's a good movie. You should see that.
Okay. I will.
It's a Korean film.
Does she speak
it's not in
Korean?
They speak English
and
Korean, but it's mostly in English.
Okay. I need to add that too.
She's also in the new Toy Story.
Oh, yes. She's one of the voices. I just know that from reading it online. I haven't even seen reading about it online.
Either.
Yeah. My kids would probably love it, so I need to. Okay. But I just, maybe a few spoilers here. The premise is really interesting absolutely spoilers. Get ready. Skip this if you want to watch the movie. But I didn't think it was very good.
But don't watch it.
Yeah, it sucked. So spoilers maybe don't matter. I feel like a lot of thrillers, psychological thrillers and horror movies do start off really well as they're like building the universe, like, throwing you into this new world that they're introducing you into. Yeah. And this one was very much like that. The first 50% of the movie, I was like really all in, so invested. The idea is that there's some weird, organism or something that's in the rain. And they live outside of Seattle, and it starts raining one day, and they have this spooky narrator. It's I think the young girl, the daughter in this family of mother, father, daughter, son.
Okay.
And so she's like, it all started the day the rain came in, And it's like, ooh, I'm invested. And then the rain does kind of like squirm like a weird little organism, like bacteria or something.
Okay.
And it like seals the house shut. And it seals everyone's house shut. And so they start to like hold up whiteboards in their windows and talk to their neighbors and be like, are you able to get out of your house? And it's like, no, Anyways, and at first they're kind of laughing about it. And then it shows you a few events. Like this is what their life is like one day into being sealed shut in their house. I feel like I'm starting one of those TikTok stories. This is my voice one day living in my house sealed shut. This is my voice 5 days living, Anyways, it's that concept.
Okay.
They show 5 days, like 3 weeks, and they show how they're surviving. And so it's really cool. It's like this. The concept is very eerie, completely trapped inside your house. You can't open a single window. Like, think about not having fresh air. I freaking love fresh air. I do. There's this German word. I can't remember the actual word, but it's like burping the house, where you open all the windows and just
funny.
Like reset the air.
Oh, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Opening your windows.
Yes. I love that concept. And growing up in China too, like the feng shui, they're trying to let the qi flow through and refresh the air every once in a while. Anyways, I would just want to die pretty early on in this catastrophe because I couldn't have fresh air. And like sunlight, like you can get it through the windows, but anyways.
Like they're just in there forever?
They're in there for basically ever. That's the problem. The way it ends, I'm not going to spoil the way it ends, but basically all of their neighbors seem to die. And then everything just gets, I mean, imagine no human maintaining anything for 5 years. They fast forward toward the end and it's like 5 years later. All the houses have like trees and things and ivy just growing over them. It's like they've been taken back by the planet.
Oh.
It is really like, ooh, spooky, eerie.
Yeah.
I do. And the cinematography is really fabulous. The acting is really good, but it's like, okay. I'm not going to spoil this part, but there's like a monster, and as soon as they show you the monster, it's like, okay, what are we? Davy Jones Locker? Like, are we in one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies? And they all...
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I feel that like that does happen a lot with scary movies where the end is so anticlimactic and the way they try to explain away like the crazy concept that you started with at the beginning makes no sense.
It's almost as if they start filming just being like, we'll figure it out as we go.
Yeah, exactly. and then it's like, by the end,
you didn't.
They completely just botch the endings.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's like when they finally show the monster, that's when a lot of times I'm like, you lost me. Okay. I Am Legend, such a good movie from a long time ago. As soon as they show the creepy, like, disease-ridden humans that are kind of like zombie-esque, I was just like, okay, this looks like the graphics from like a 90s video game. Like, what are we doing here? And it ruined it for me. So I was just like, meh. No. Anyways. So that's what I read, watched, listened to this week. And it was very disappointing, but I love to hate on a movie sometimes. So it's good to see a whole spectrum of good ones, bad ones.
Okay.
All the in-betweens.
Well.
Should we jump into our cases?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. The first story that we're covering this week is Perez Hilton. So Perez Hilton, age 48, started a live stream on his TikTok account on Tuesday, August 4th, before the platform pulled his video and his account down. In the video, he appeared to be covered in blood with visible cuts and holding what appeared to be a butcher knife.
Oh my gosh.
Perez Hilton's family said his 3 children, niece and sister, were inside the home minutes before he publicly live streamed what appeared to be self-harm amid a severe mental health crisis. In the TikTok live, he started it. I'm laughing, it's not funny. He was butt naked, covered in blood, again, holding the knife, and I saw comments online that it looked like a scene from like Carrie, like a slasher movie.
Okay.
Like,
I haven't seen that movie, but I know the idea.
And one thing I will say right now is to not look up the video.
Okay.
I think you can still find it on certain platforms. I don't even want to say where to find it.
Completely naked and no censorship, of course, because it was a TikTok live.
It was TikTok live that was up for 34 minutes.
Oh my gosh, they've got to get faster.
Yeah, so the viewers were calling the police and reporting what they were seeing.
Yeah.
And
he probably lives in Los Angeles, right? I'm just making a sweeping assumption here. Okay.
Yes.
Maybe Jordan can post a picture on this video of Perez Hilton. So
yeah, I was going to say, do you really know much about who he is?
I don't know a whole lot about him.
I think that I kind of missed the time frame of... I mean, I think I kind of missed the era of him being popular. I think I was too young to really know him.
And I was probably the right age, but I was in China. So I was on the wrong continent and you were the wrong age.
I do have a couple notes just as like a little bit of a blurb about who he is. Okay. He's an American celebrity blogger, columnist, and media personality who became famous in the mid-2000s for his celebrity gossip website.
Oh, okay.
He's very controversial and is known for being pretty aggressive in the way that he reports. So some of his big controversies were back when Britney Spears was really in her downward spiral.
We knew about the conservatorship. There we go. Conservatorship.
Yeah. She's someone we should maybe deep dive. That would be interesting.
I feel terrible for what she was going through. Okay, so he was like
He was really
writing.
harsh on her.
Okay.
He wrote some things like she was an unfit mother. When Heath Ledger died, he made T-shirts that said, "Why couldn't it be Britney?"
What? Wait, what does that even mean?
Like,
that died?
yeah.
Okay, what a jerk.
So he's
Also, Heath Ledger, that is such a sad one.
yeah, also very sad.
Yeah. He was like the dreamiest.
Totally.
Steamiest.
Totally.
Like when he was my McDreamy and my McSteamy and all the above when I was a teenager.
He was so young, but he was in so many movies that are like
formative for our upbringing.
Our generation. Totally.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He's so incredible. Okay.
Yes.
So he wrote Why Couldn't It Be Britney?
Why couldn't it be Britney?
Ruthless.
He made a bunch of creepy, gross statements about Justin Bieber over the years, like even when he was a kid, that were not appropriate.
Okay.
He's known for outing a lot of gay celebrities.
Oh, cool. Just out them for them instead of letting them do it on their own timeline. Okay.
Or like maybe if they never want to mention it, like he was outing people. And
do you think he is gay?
Oh, he is gay.
Oh, okay.
He's openly gay.
Okay.
The children were, that I did read that his children were born via surrogate, and he is or was married. I actually don't know.
Okay.
To a man. Anyway, so he was like just very cruel in his reporting. So Perez Hilton was in the news also back in March when he was hospitalized for 21 days.
Whoa.
Let me read. I have the article here.
Okay.
My stupidity landed me in the hospital for 21 days, and it was the worst and best thing that's ever happened to me.
What is the stupidity he's referencing?
He
in March?
Was battling the flu for a week. However, he was taking all of his medication without food, even though he was supposed to, and developed ulcers. That then his body went sepsis.
Oh my gosh, that's so serious.
Yeah, he was in the hospital, for 21 days. And he says, again, it was the worst and best thing that ever happened to me. He said, God presented himself to me in the hospital. After treatment and being sent home, he posted a video on his social media where he said that one of the most special things about his experience in the hospital is that God presented himself to me.
Well, that sounds like psychosis to me. Or like schizophrenia, or I don't know.
He said, it was not a feeling. God presented himself to me. I grew up Catholic, but I was never a believer until now. God presented himself to me and then did something that I could only call miraculous, he said in the video through tears. And I was very lucid. It was real, and this has been life-changing. I'm so grateful. I'm excited to start taking the kids to church every week and just to know that God is real. I don't have to hope to believe. I know now. And so that article talking about this was posted March 25th in
All right, there's like some interesting positives and negatives from that. Like taking the kids to church and feeling, he said hope. Right?
Yeah.
I love that for him.
It makes me wonder, like, maybe he had this experience and started having a belief in God and learning more about religion, and then started to feel really guilty about all of the things that he's done over the years.
Okay.
Like the bad things I was telling you before, like the just being really horrible and cruel. And maybe feeling guilty, and it might have sent him into this psychosis where he just hates himself.
Wow, okay. So, like, the blood in the video was actually from, we know it was actually from him cutting himself?
Yes, he was cutting himself, and he had significant blood loss.
Oh, my gosh.
In the hospital.
Okay, that's terrible.
And he also, at the end of the video, I haven't watched the video, but just from what I've seen online, he was hoping that when the police showed up that they would, that he would die. It would be like suicide by cop.
Yeah, because he would like be brandishing a knife and they would have no choice.
That was what he was saying he would hope would happen.
Oh my gosh.
So really disturbing.
Yeah.
Really upsetting.
Okay.
I have this comment from Reddit that I pasted into my notes from Alarming Damage 5821. The usernames on Reddit
Alarming Damage
so random.
5821. Okay.
But kind of like kind of topical.
Yeah.
He said the video, he's someone that watched the video, so this is like an alleged eyewitness account. The video is absolutely one of the most disturbing things I've seen in a minute. Legit doesn't seem real how much blood there is, as well as his actions. He seemed so hollow-eyed and gone. Reminded me of the Bjork stalker. Do you know anything about that?
No.
Who recorded his own suicide.
Oh my gosh.
It's so terrifying to see someone be able to do this to themselves. It almost looked like an autopilot from hell.
Ooh. It's a good description.
Yeah, the imagery you can just kind of picture, like the
he's on autopilot.
Yeah, like it seemed like he
possessed
wasn't even.
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah. Like it seemed like he was possessed.
That's
disturbing.
I don't know what to make of that.
I don't know.
I think we're covering the Ruby Frankie case soon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I just feel like we're kind of in a place of psychosis and like people having like a mental break. Perez, Hilton, we might be talking about Ruby Frankie soon, and then like Lindsay, Clancy. Like this is almost like a perfect segue into the next case that we're going to talk about again today. Do you have anything else on the Perez case?
No, we can move on to
the
Lindsay
I'm
Clancy
eager
trial.
to see where this goes, like find out more information about Perez Hilton, and I hope he can recover.
We can move on to Lindsay Clancy's trial.
Yeah, we have a lot to update on.
Yes, we do.
This week.
Yeah, this will be the bulk of the episode.
Yeah, last week you told me a lot about it and I really didn't know much. I was just going into it blind. And this week we've both been texting each other back and forth and sending each other reels on Instagram and TikTok of like, oh my gosh, watching the trials live because they're being live streamed on YouTube by the Associated Press. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I've listened to as much as I put my headphones in and just have my YouTube on so I can try to listen as much as I can during the day.
Me too. While like vacuuming, I was doing it, and I was folding laundry one time. Like, a girl can multitask.
Yes, that's literally all I do is multitask. I'm always doing 10 things at once.
So I'm gonna start off this one. We're both gonna like tag team this one just for the viewers. We're gonna tag team this, and I'm going to do a little bit of background on Patrick.
Yeah.
I read a really interesting article that was very thorough. It was written on October 14th of 2024. So the murder of the 3 Clancy children took place in 2023, right, in January. And so this was done a year and 9 months later in October of 2024. And the name of the article in The New Yorker is called "A Husband in the Aftermath of His Wife's Unfathomable Act."
Okay.
I don't love how she has confessed, but I don't love the title of the article because it makes it seem like so black and white, cut and dry. We know she absolutely did it because as we are finding out this week, there are bizarre things in the case that don't quite add up, and it is starting to create a lot of questions on the internet. You know, there's tons of internet sleuths that are jumping to conclusions that I don't quite agree with. And then we're going to talk about like conspiracy theories at the end. You had the great idea of calling it like our tinfoil hat moment.
Yeah, no.
Okay, let's talk about
It's hard to not get swept up in the...
some of them are very compelling, and some of them are not. And I'm like, okay, that's crazy. Don't say that.
I know. I'm a conspiracy theorist at heart, I
Me
guess,
too.
where I just want to know.
But then I also am like, these are real people, and we're seeing their lives.
I know. I don't want this
destroyed
to be. I don't want what we report on to be sensationalized information. Everything that we're going to talk about right now is straight facts.
And then at the end,
we're gonna
get crazy.
Yeah, no. At the end, we're jumping off the rails, but
proverbially.
Yeah.
So, okay, it's called A Husband in the Aftermath of His Wife's Unfathomable Act. Patrick Clancy's wife killed their children during a postpartum mental health crisis. Prosecutors describe a clear-headed scheme, but Clancy says, I wasn't married to a monster. I was married to someone who got sick. And this article, by the way, is by Aaron Orby. So real quick, Pat is 36, and so Patrick Clancy, the husband to Lindsay Clancy, who is now on trial, is called Pat in a lot of this article because that's what Lindsay called him. That's what apparently all of his friends and family called him. Pat is 36 but looks younger with pale blue eyes, cowlicked, dark blonde hair, and a narrow, clean-shaven face. By the way, I knew this I learned this a few years ago, but it's really interesting. A cowlick, like in your hair, it is spelled cowlick, like a cow licked your hair. Did you know that?
I think so.
Yeah,
I guess I
words are
never
funny.
thought about it, but
Yeah. So cow-licked hair. Cow-licked hair.
Cow licked his
Okay,
hair.
he's a sailor, which comes into play a lot later when you talk about knots and tying knots and all that. So he's been sailing in races since childhood and tends to dress sportily in black sunglasses, long-sleeved Henley shirts, and belts made from tactical fabric.
Okay.
So this is Aaron, the journalist speaking. He says, when we first met, Pat mentioned that he'd been reading Man's Search for Meaning, which is so interesting because we talked about Viktor Frankl on our previous episode of Adolf Hitler.
Okay.
So Man's Search for Meaning by the Austrian psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl, who wrote of the human ability to transform a personal tragedy into triumph. After the killings, Pat took an extended leave from his remote job in software sales at Microsoft. And in his free time, he'd joined a sailing club, signed up to run and complete the Boston Marathon on behalf of a children's medical charity, and begun volunteering as a guide to runners who are blind. That is really cool that he did that. But the ongoing case against Lindsay clearly hindered his attempts to squeeze some good, quote unquote, as he said he's trying to do from his family's heartbreak. He's not a linguist. He's not like great with his words, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But squeeze some good out of the heartbreak. He's trying to take a page out of Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, and try to find meaning in the heartbreak.
Are you saying that because of the word squeeze?
Because
the kids were strangled?
Oh my gosh.
That's like probably not a great thing for him to say.
I know. Honestly, throughout this article, I'm like, this was written in October 2024. Fast forward, we're like almost 2 years later, and he is making himself look horrible in front of the prosecution and the defense attorney's lines of questioning. Oh my gosh. I did not even think of that. Squeeze some good. What?
Why would he say that? Why would he say that?
I know. It's like coming out.
The hat needs to.
Yeah, the tinfoil hat.
Take our hats off.
You're so right. Why would he say that?
Okay.
It's like a Freudian slip where he's like, it's seeping in between the cracks of this man that's, tinfoil hat or not.
That's a weird thing to say.
Sus as fuck.
He is. No, last time I didn't even know that everyone was so suspicious. I literally
I know. I thought it was just me.
Yeah. No. When I was reading through everyone, I think I had the title. It goes like "Husband Sus," and then I was just reading through the notes I took because I was like, some of this seems a little strange. And then this week I saw
the internet agrees with
avalanche of commentary on everyone thinks he's sus.
Yeah. So back to not having tinfoil hats on. He studied business at Salve Regina University in Newport, Rhode Island, where he was a varsity skipper. So he knows a lot about boats, tying knots.
Yeah.
There's this YouTube video that was like viral and he says, tying knots. Anyway, so every time I say that, I can't help but think of this stupid YouTube video. It's like a man that's tripping on acid and his friends video it, but then they like animate a frog or a lizard, and they use all of the guy's words when he's like tripping and like animate a lizard. I explained that horribly, but anyways, he says like I'm just drinking out of cups.
Okay,
I'm tying knots. Anyways,
okay.
So
I feel like somehow that'll be something we reference in a lot of stories. Unfortunately,
could be. Yep. So I'll have to show you this YouTube video.
Joke for the pod.
Yeah, could be. Tying knots. So he was a varsity skipper. He's good at tying knots.
Yeah.
And then he began working as in a telecommunications company in Boston. Lindsay and Patrick end up meeting the summer of 2013. They date for a couple of years, and then they get married by the end of 2016, in December of 2016.
Okay.
So that's kind of the background that I learned on him this week. Also, he is now married.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have more information on that, or if not today.
So I spread misinformation in the last episode.
Oh, okay.
And I want to publicly apologize. I said that he was married 4 months after this incident. That is not true. Okay. He moved to New York 4 months after.
Okay.
And I guess he has family that lives in New York too, so it's really not all that suspicious. The article that I was reading, I even went back to check because I was confused why I thought it was 4 months. It wasn't even me. Like, I've seen that as a narrative on social
Online.
media this week, and people correcting it in the comments. But there must have been. I think we were all reading the same article where it said that the incident happened in January. It was like January 23rd or whatever, January 2023. And then it said, and then in April, he was remarried, but it was April of 2026. But they didn't say the year. So it was like jumped from, they were meaning present. Years. Like January 2023, the incident occurred, and in April, he was remarried.
That's misleading.
So
that is misleading.
My bad.
Yeah.
That is not true.
Yeah. Okay,
but
good
still,
to know. We're always going to fact check ourselves.
Yeah. And I'm sure at some point we'll make mistakes. We're going to do our best to
report as factually as possible and do research. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I should have checked that because that was like a big thing to
claim. I do know that his new wife is named Dr. Rachel Danis. She's a reproductive endocrinologist and infertility specialist. She lives in New York City. They live together in New York City. They got married in Central Park in a ceremony in April of 2026.
Yeah.
So
she also is Lindsay's twin.
She looks so much like Lindsay.
They look so alike.
Bizarre. Jordan, will you please put a photo of them side by side? Because that's another thing that's kind of sus. He clearly has a type.
Yeah, they look very similar. Yeah. But I feel like after an incident, marrying someone who looks so similar to the woman that strangled your children.
Want to get like super far away from that? Although,
okay.
I don't know.
This is
tinfoil hat.
Hats off. Okay.
Yeah. So that's all the background. And now I think you were going to start talking about all the witnesses that we've heard from this week.
Yes.
In the trial.
So there were lots of really important key witnesses that testified this week. We still haven't heard from Lindsay herself. Mm-hmm. This week she did, let me read from the article. I thought they wrote it really well. It says, Lindsay Clancy has not taken the stand, but the Massachusetts mother accused of killing her 3 children communicated in multiple ways at her murder trial this week. She vocally answered the judge's questions about a legal issue, her first audible words in the trial. She sobbed and shook during the difficult testimony about the autopsy of her infant son, and her diary entries about her parenting stresses and postpartum issues were read aloud in court. So she hasn't testified herself, but we've learned more about what was going on inside her mind this week.
I wonder if her defense attorney, Kevin Reddington, right? Mm-hmm. I wonder if he is going to have her take the stand. I don't know. He is very strategic and I think really good at his job.
He's doing a really great job.
Yeah, whatever he decides to do, I'm sure will be a very good move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first witness that we're going to talk about is Dr. Jennifer Tufts.
Okay.
She is the psychiatrist who was working with Lindsay, treating her between September 2022 and January 23rd, 2023. Mm-hmm. 2 days before the killings is the last time that she saw her. So her testimony has become key for the prosecution during months-long observations of Lindsay. She's become really important in the trial because she never came to the conclusion that she was having symptoms of psychosis at any point.
Okay.
She did observe that she was having a mental health decline, and her symptoms of depression, anxiety, and insomnia were increasing over the months that she saw her. She was also responsible for multiple of the medication changes with Lindsay. Remember, we talked about how she was on
so many,
11
over 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I've seen when they extend that to 4 months, it's 13 medications over 4 months.
I think I've seen up to 14, but
that's so that should be made illegal. I feel like
Yeah.
this case is hopefully going to be like a landmark case that sets new legal precedents, like in the medical world. Like
I know.
sharing
yes.
medications between different medical practices and doctors so that you have one database and you can see who's prescribed her what.
I know.
don't
It's
know how
hard
they
with
do that with
the
HIPAA.
laws. I don't know how that would work. I really don't. But
Can I say something real fast? I looked up, it was very interesting what they were saying on the stand about psychosis, because that has become a big part of the trial that a lot of people don't know a whole lot about postpartum psychosis. I'd never heard that term until you said it a week ago when we
I've
were
never heard
recording.
it until I was learning about this trial.
And it sounds like a lot of people in the trial had not heard of it until more recently. So I'm going to read something that is also from that New Yorker article. It says, Kevin Reddington, Lindsay Clancy's defense attorney, won a landmark insanity case in 1989. His client, who had stood accused of fatally stabbing her abusive boyfriend in the eyes with steak knives, that's gnarly and we should cover that one eventually,
My gosh.
was acquitted after he argued that she'd suffered from temporary insanity brought on by battered women's syndrome, which is a very real syndrome, women being abused physically.
Okay.
He says she didn't serve a day. And then the article goes on to say, postpartum psychosis lacks an official category in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, which is known as the DSM. There's been many iterations of the DSM, by the way. Like it started with DSM-1, blank, blah, blah, blah. And then as they add more and more like mental health disorders, they update it. And so now we're on DSM-5, and the DSM-6 is supposed to come out sometime at the end of 2026. And so they keep adding new mental health disorders as we learn more and more about the human brain and about how these drugs work on our brains to help us cope with those. So anyways, I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Postpartum psychosis lacks an official category in the DSM-5 currently. It does not exist in the DSM-5.
That's good to know.
But it's probably going to be added.
I feel like it totally should be added because there's postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety.
Different levels.
Yeah, and I think we know like depression and anxiety and different things like that can lead to psychosis. So I don't know why the depression and anxiety
and there's been a huge lack of research on specifically women's health for just decades, like literally since the beginning of time. Women's health has just been assumed to be men's health, but women have like a few different body parts. But it's like, no. In the past 2 decades especially, there's been more of a push. And I really appreciate that younger generations like millennials and Gen Zs are like, this is not okay. Study women's health specifically. Things that only affect women have not had research money put into them. Do it, you know?
Yes.
So I completely agree. Postpartum anxiety versus postpartum depression, and then parsing out versus postpartum psychosis and having very clear parameters. How do they manifest? What are the differences? You know, we need that information, and our healthcare professionals need to know that information. So,
yeah, agreed.
She says, so the fact that postpartum psychosis lacks an official category in the DSM is a fact that some experts argue undermines its use in criminal defenses currently, because it's not officially
that is interesting.
It's not a diagnostic that can be given officially. It's kind of like unofficial, like a pseudo-diagnosis.
Okay, so we'll get into the key witnesses. So the first key witness that we're going to talk about is Dr. Jennifer Tufts, and she is the psychiatrist who worked with Lindsay from September 2022 to January 23rd, 2023. And this is the day before the killings.
Yeah, the kids died or were killed on January 24th.
Yeah, so she had an appointment with Lindsay the day before this happened.
Okay.
And she treated her for the most significant period of time of all the doctors that are witnesses so far. So she said that Lindsay's mental health was deteriorating, but she never actually observed any symptoms that would indicate psychosis.
Okay.
It's really important to know for certain if she was in psychosis, because that's the crux of
the
this
insanity
trial.
defense, as opposed to she was of sound mind, she goes to prison, And if she was not of sound mind, she goes to a mental institution. So it's a big, big difference.
Yes.
Okay. While we're talking about postpartum psychosis, I read some really interesting things about that this week because that definition does not appear anywhere in the DSM-5. Real quick, the DSM is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, and it's been around for a while, and we've had many different iterations. So DSM-1, DSM-2, DSM-2R, and then so on and so forth until DSM-5. And they are constantly updating it because we have these longitudinal, like 40-year-long studies on people's brains that we've done that just the results just barely came out in the past decade, by the way. So like the amount we knew about the human brain was so lacking in previous decades. So of course the DSM, which is again the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, was going to be limited decades ago. And then as time has progressed, we know more and more, and we can more specifically parse out this is what narcissistic personality disorder is, this is what borderline personality disorder is, this is what histrionic personality disorder. And so like we're getting so many more quote unquote disorders because we understand more clearly the slight subtle differences. And so postpartum psychosis versus postpartum depression versus anxiety postpartum, those are very interesting to study, but very important to parse out and get like specific diagnostics.
Yeah.
So something that I read in that New Yorker article from October 2024 that's really interesting is postpartum psychosis lacks an official category in the DSM, a fact that some experts argue undermines its use in criminal defenses, which is important in this case. If Kevin Reddington, her defense attorney, cannot prove that postpartum psychosis is like a legitimate diagnosis and term, then they don't have very much to stand on because then it's just quote unquote just postpartum depression and anxiety that she had, which doesn't mean she was insane. It just means she was severely depressed and so like compromised. Her mental state was compromised, but maybe not completely like hallucinating.
Could they just argue that postpartum depression and anxiety led to a psychotic break?
Yeah, yes.
I
and
guess
that
they
is
don't
what
have to use
he is doing.
Postpartum, like specifically.
Psychosis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know why postpartum psychosis wouldn't be a diagnosis. I mean, I'm not a mental
Not yet.
health
The DSM-6, the most up-to-date version of the DSM is going to come out at the end of 2026. I actually wonder if that will be like Saved by the Bell situation.
Yeah, because all of these things that are associated with postpartum, like depression, anxiety, insomnia, are all
slightly different
things that can contribute to a psychotic break in any situation.
Yeah.
So I don't know why it wouldn't be considered.
Yes. To continue that that paragraph, they say at Lindsay's arraignment, which happened, right after arraignment is just their first appearance in court. And so that happened February 7th of 2023, like right after the murders took place of the children. At Lindsay's arraignment, Reddington, her defense attorney, pointed out that postpartum mental illness is notoriously overlooked, telling the judge, our society completely abandons women with this condition. Oh my gosh, he is the most incredible. I really love this guy.
Her lawyer is killing it.
He also seems like he really cares about women and women's health issues that have, like he said, just been underserved, underrecognized by society. And they have.
Yeah.
Women's health has not been studied seriously with research dollars put toward it specifically up until more recently.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a travesty that generations of women suffering like with postpartum depression and anxiety were just called like hysterical and put in asylums. Like I hate that for our ancestors, our grandmas, great grandmas. So clinicians call the thoughts that she was having intrusive thoughts, and they're distressingly common among new mothers with mood disorders. One study found that more than 40% of depressed women with infants or toddlers reported thoughts of harming them. I thought that was a really helpful statistic, 40%. That's a lot. And I expressed that in the last episode. I experienced just thoughts of potentially doing some harm to my children when they were infants. And it was very distressing. It was so scary that my brain could go there. Yeah. And immediately I was like, what is wrong? And I didn't know what to do about it. And I also felt very alone because no one had ever told me that they'd experienced that before, because who wants to admit
No,
that?
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even a healthy new mother, the article continues, may experience such thoughts. So even mothers without mood disorders, by the way, so without bipolar or previous depression, anxiety that's treated, even a healthy mother may experience such thoughts, not so much as a real impulse to harm the child, rather an apprehension that such an impulse might occur. That's a really interesting distinction that's important. And I did experience that. I didn't actually experience impulses to hurt my kids, but it was a fear of, oh my gosh, what if they hit their head on this granite countertop and crack their head open and,
Yeah.
So the thought would just like whiz through my brain, and it was horrifying.
Yeah. No, it's yeah.
Yeah.
It's totally your brain just trying to make you think of every worst case scenario to like, okay, this is now you need to understand how serious having a newborn is and like how much you need to protect them. There's so many things that can happen.
It seems like your brain is trying to to help you prepare for
every situation.
This is an infant. Take it seriously. Really cherish them and protect them. Yeah. So it's like your brain protecting you, but it's really, really uncool how the brain does that.
Yeah.
So, okay, back to you.
Yeah. So you were saying that postpartum psychosis is going to be a little bit challenging to prove in court because it's not even a real diagnosis, but there are also some other things, according to Lindsay's doctors, that are going to be hurdles for her lawyer to jump over. So just to wrap up what Jennifer Tuft said in her testimony, Dr. Jennifer Tuft, she essentially said she saw no reason for Lindsay to seek involuntary hospitalization. So when she went to the
clinic.
Yeah, when she went to the clinic to stay overnight, she said, I just based on my interactions with Lindsay and what I know about her mental health, I don't see a reason for her to need to
be institutionalized, because she did that December 31st, right? New Year's Eve is when she was institutionalized voluntarily.
Yes. Yeah. So the next witness we're going to talk about is Dr. Aaliyah Goodhart, who was her doctor when she was in this overnight multi-night stay at the psychiatric hospital.
I watched the entire 2-hour deposition.
I watched her testimony.
Yeah, deposition that the defense attorney Kevin Reddington did with her. She doesn't seem to really know that much about Lindsay Clancy, and I wasn't very impressed, I'll be honest.
The next doctor. So also I should mention, I'm not necessarily going chronologically through the doctors like in the order that they testified, but this is the order that they saw Lindsay. Okay, so the next witness that we're going to talk about is Dr. Kelly McDonough. And she is the ER doctor who saw Lindsay right after she was brought in after her suicide attempt on January 24th, 2023, immediately after the killings of her children. The story that she was told was that Lindsay had jumped from a second-story window. She testified that her body temperature was approximately 82.1 degrees Fahrenheit.
Which is so low.
Indicating severe hypothermia.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw this part of her testimony, but she also seemed underprepared. And
Kevin Reddington even calls her out on that.
Yes.
Like, this is a murder trial. Did you review your notes? Yeah. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Get her for that. Like, what on earth?
Yeah.
You don't just come unprepared.
She's like, if that's what the record says, then yeah.
Yeah, she's kind of like, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so she described Lindsay's wounds as superficial. Lindsay was intubated to protect her airway, and her condition required emergency medical intervention before she was transferred for further treatment. One thing that is interesting is the 82.1 degree temperature. That was that's another thing with our tinfoil hats.
Yes.
That is a little bit off with Patrick's testimony.
Because you would have to be outside for
Just according to the
longer.
timeline,
He was gone from like
it
5 to 6 p.m.
would be, it probably would be, that would be very quick to get to that low of a body temperature.
If she had
outside.
spent time. Strangulation takes time.
Yeah.
And if it's alleged, so if she was the one that strangled them, it would have taken time per child, and then taking her own, slitting her own wrists and jumping out the window, she wouldn't have been outside for long enough for her temperature to reach that low.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's, again, this is tinfoil hat moment.
Yeah.
I think that seems like a likely explanation, which makes it seem like someone else killed the children.
Yeah.
And she was out there for that whole hour.
Yeah. So that was just the most interesting point from her testimony. And then we're going to move on to Dr. Jillam Biswas, who saw Lindsay on January 26th, 2023. So this is 2 days after the killings. And basically, she is the person who gave her a psychiatric evaluation when Lindsay was able to speak again after the incident. And it was very minimal what she said, but she did say that she was, in quotes, horrified, was like the word that she could get out.
Lindsay.
Lindsay. It seems like this is like a smoking gun for a lot of people, that she said she was horrified.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of having a hard time understanding why that would be like
it's
the
not
smoking gun. If she's
no.
anyone would be horrified that their kids were killed.
Yes.
And like what she could have witnessed.
No matter if it was her or her husband
that doesn't necessarily
that had done it.
Mean to me that she's guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Just
people are saying it's a smoking gun that she's the guilty party?
Yeah, that she's horrified by her actions.
Mm. Yeah, no, that doesn't seem like an airtight, like, smoking gun to me.
Yeah. Again, yeah. So she also did not observe any signs that would indicate psychosis in her observation of Lindsay. Again, so another doctor saying, I am not seeing any signs of postpartum psychosis in her.
It's super problematic because Lindsay was not, okay, this might sound harsh, but because she didn't die, they didn't run a drug panel on her. So they couldn't tell what drugs were in her system at that time. And that's actually really problematic because maybe she was drugged during that time. We don't know because
was
no
it
drug
a
panel.
drug-induced psychosis?
Yes, it could have been. Or, tinfoil hat moment, did Patrick drug her so that she would forget the events of what happened so that
she wasn't in a coherent state.
Yeah, so that if he was the one to kill the children, she wouldn't know. And she would wake up to this horrifying scene of her wrists and her throat slashed, and she's now paralyzed from this fall out the window, and her children are gone.
Yeah, what I don't know after going through, like, researching so much about this case is whether or not she says that she remembers anything from that night. I don't know if she is just going based on what people have told her about the events of that night, or whether or not she.
And I don't think we know for sure yet either, because she hasn't taken the stand and said anything.
And she, in this trial, has not pled guilty, but she did confess to it. But was she just told that she did these things?
Mm-hmm.
And so she agreed to confess because she felt so horrible about what happened to her children.
And she didn't have any other
explanation. And it was an
explanation.
emotional decision, or was it something that she can recall in her memory?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We don't know.
That's something
quite yet.
we don't know yet. And that's probably like for a reason. And probably part of the strategy, Kevin Reddington's strategy. So that's the last doctor that I have as a witness that we're going to talk about. The next witness is Corey Mello, who is a Massachusetts State Police detective who is involved in the investigation of Lindsay's case. And he is the person who read Lindsay's journal entries. So I don't know.
Those were heartbreaking.
You saw.
I didn't watch the whole thing, but I saw bits and pieces.
Yeah, I have a couple of them that I just wanted to read. So it just gives us an image of what was going on in her head. So she said, I feel like I'm drowning every day. I want help. I want to be well. I'm so desperate to get a mental break. And then another one widely reported on, I've seen a bunch of people talking about this, is when she writes, it's long, but how she was struggling with the process of sleep training her son and how guilty she felt,
sleep training can be brutal.
Truly one of the most relatable things ever as a mom. It's so brutal, especially if your child is not a naturally just good sleeper. And it sounds like Callan, the 8-month-old, was struggling with sleep, and that was what was contributing to Lindsay's insomnia. And she was just really struggling with, like, should I let him cry? I can't. It's horrible to let him cry. I feel so guilty, but I need to sleep because I know I'm not okay.
It feels like such a catch-22, like you can't win. Either your baby is, and it really does feel like this, especially as a postpartum mom, you feel like you're being so cruel to your baby. And then you hear people around you, like your husband, all these well-meaning and great comments of like, it'll be better for all of us if the baby is sleep trained. But there's this nagging voice in your head that's like, you're being cruel, like it's wrong. And I think it's the same thing as like all the intrusive thoughts. It's like your mind and your entire biology shifts to protect the baby.
Yeah, I know.
And so of course your thought process is going to be, I can't let them cry. It's too cruel. I'll just let them sleep in bed with me and give me the worst night of sleep over and over and over again, where I'm constantly waking up.
Yeah.
Also, people that have never had a newborn, they are so loud. And I know at this point, Callan was 8 months old, but for like 3 months, they're grunting. Like, it's like,
it sounds like they can't breathe.
It's such a bizarre thing.
Yeah.
Nobody told me that before I had kids. It wasn't crying, it was grunting.
Yeah, it is weird.
And it's like it is like this, you know, they were so comfortable in your womb and like just floating around in the amniotic fluid and having a great time. And then all of a sudden, it's like their little frail bodies are not used to being exposed to air, and they're just like, and it is so bizarre.
Yeah, totally.
So I didn't sleep well for the first 3 months of any of my baby's lives, mostly because they were grunting the whole time. And they're in my room weird. And it's just like, I know I keep doing that, but I want people to understand. It is such a bizarre sound, and you don't know it until you've had a baby.
Yeah. I know. That's like one of the more heartbreaking points of this trial so far for me is listening to these journal entries, because all the thoughts that she's having, I think, are so relatable to mothers.
And we're seeing that online. Any woman that has had a baby and been through the postpartum period of time can relate. Yeah,
and I do think that the turn on Patrick, I am not going to say whether, I mean, we have our theories, but I'm not totally on the ship of like, he did it, she's innocent. If she killed her children, she deserves to go to jail. And she's an awful person if she did that.
Yeah.
It's
especially if the insanity defense is a pretense and she's just pretending.
If she's lying about all of this.
But we'll wait until we find more information out. We're just trying to exhaust all the resources we have and make some educated guesses.
Yeah. I also don't know if I mentioned this or not. After talking about all of the doctors and how all of them said that they did not see any signs of psychosis, the prosecution is really, their argument is that Lindsay is lying about the psychosis. So I don't know if that was clear or not.
Yeah, she's putting on a show is what the prosecution is saying.
Yeah.
Which, if anyone is putting on a show, again, this is us judging them by the way their affect, like their facial expressions and whether or not they're crying, their affect in the courtroom. Patrick versus Lindsay, very different.
Yes.
Lindsay seems like she's filled with guilt and remorse, but maybe not necessarily remorse from a guilty conscience, but like just sadness that her children are dead and that this is the position that they're in. Patrick seems completely emotionless.
Yeah, he does.
And it's very bizarre. And I don't know what to make of it. And clearly the internet doesn't know what to make of it either, because people are pouncing on every micro expression that crosses his face. When Kevin Reddington puts a box of tissues, that was like such a calculated move, in my opinion. He puts a box of tissues up on the stand when Patrick Clancy gets onto the stand. And it's like, in his mind, I'm sure he was like, he's not going to need to use these. He's not going to shed a tear.
I didn't even think about that.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that was a very calculated move. And I think it was a very smart strategy.
He's good at what he does.
He is.
He's so good at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some people don't quite understand what's happening in the courtroom. Patrick Clancy is not on trial. So unfortunately, even if all the evidence starts pointing toward him, he cannot suddenly just be indicted for the crime, unless it's like, anyways, they have to start a new trial for him. So this trial is specifically about Lindsay Clancy, and it's actually not even about whether or not she did it.
Yeah.
The argument is whether or not she goes to prison, or she has an insanity defense and goes to a mental institution.
Yes.
So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I wanted to read something real fast while we're on this topic. It's back from that New Yorker article, October 24th, 2024. Nicole Serino, a reproductive psychiatrist and professor at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, told me, who is Erin, the author, the journalist, that a prolonged insomnia in a new mother should be treated as a warning sign of an underlying psychiatric condition in the moderate to severe range. Like all of the mental health professionals I spoke to, Serino was careful to note that she did not have firsthand knowledge of Lindsay's case and could not comment on it specifically. However, she pointed out that sleep deprivation can be a trigger for postpartum psychosis. The disease doesn't always start with someone hearing voices, she added. It can present with a woman simply saying, I feel anxious, I can't sleep, I don't know what's going on. Lindsay's defense team has named horrific overmedication as the chief cause of her mental decline, which you and I have talked about and absolutely agree. That many psychotropic drugs, which are used to treat mental illnesses, that many intermingling in your brain chemistry is going to screw you up, no matter how healthy you were going into it. So to go back to that article, that quote, Lindsay's defense team has named horrific overmedication as the chief cause of her mental decline, a line of reasoning that may provide some solace to her loved ones. It can be comforting to blame an external source for the inner changes wrought by mental illnesses, but the link between psychotropic drugs and violent behavior is so poorly understood at this point in time. And just a reminder that I just wrote a definition here in case I wasn't totally airtight on the definition of psychotropic. Psychotropic drugs are chemical agents that change how the brain works. They alter a person's mood, thoughts, feelings, behavior, or awareness. People use them to treat mental health conditions like depression, anxiety, even schizophrenia, etc. So,
okay. Yeah, that's good to know. That's good context.
Yes. So she was on so many psychotropic drugs all at once. She was also not sleeping.
It's so bad. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But again, that all could work to Patrick's favor. And her pills were being crushed up, which is very suspect.
Yes.
That's not how people take psychotropic drugs.
Especially a nurse.
Yeah. She, in my opinion, this is tinfoil hat moment, in my opinion, I don't think she would have been taking her psychotropic drugs to treat her mental illnesses crushed up. She would have just swallowed them.
Absolutely.
So them being crushed up seems like they were being put in drinks.
I think so too, but
and she's being drugged by her husband is what it feels like.
That is weird. That is very weird.
And it's a line. Okay, there's this in philosophy. There's this idea called Occam's razor, and it's the idea that the most the explanation that makes the most sense is likely the one that is reality. Yeah. And more as the evidence is coming out, I'm like, okay, Occam's razor. All of these things don't lead to Lindsay Clancy killed her children. They lead to she was in a drug-induced state, had someone came and slashed her wrists and throat and pushed her out the window to make it look like a suicide attempt. She got hypothermia because she was out there for an entire hour while someone went downstairs into the basement and strangled all 3 of their children, which takes a long time and is a very personal type of violence.
And
it seems like, again, tinfoil hat, it seems like a man who wanted a new life, was sick and tired of these 3 children and this wife that he didn't want anymore. And the cleanest way to get rid of it all was to stage all of this.
yeah.
Tinfoil hat off now, back to
Yeah.
the facts.
Yeah. Well, another reason this is so hard to believe is she had a lot of friends and family testify this week, and really no one had anything bad to say about her. There was like truly, like, every single person that got up that knew her said that she was a great mom. She was very loving. She was attentive. So then the next person I was going to bring up is Elaine Rossi, who was the family's nanny.
Yeah.
She's a very defense-friendly witness. She spoke really highly of Lindsay and how she thought she was a really attentive and loving mom.
Okay. Did she say anything about Patrick?
She didn't say anything about Patrick.
Okay.
I don't think. I didn't have anything in my notes about that. But she testified that she never saw any behavior towards the children that was consistent with a violent person. Also, she did say that Lindsay had confided in her. She said she had postpartum and couldn't sleep in her testimony, that Lindsay was struggling with her mental health and she could see that. And they had some personal conversations about what was going on. And Lindsay actually, so they had a couple of her friends that were maybe more Patrick's friends, like family friends, that they would go and do things with their kids together and stuff like that. They had other friends and acquaintances of Lindsay on the stand, and they all said that they had never had super deep personal conversations with Lindsay.
There were a couple more things that I wanted to add here at the end. Back to that New Yorker article from October 2024. A forensic psychiatrist named Sarah West chimed in, and she said she'd evaluated more than a dozen women accused of killing their children. And she said that severe depression tends to involve an element of distorted reality. And she added, it's not technically psychosis, but it's not psychosis. That's where it gets really tricky. It's like, where does depression end and psychosis begin?
Yeah.
Because if there's an element of distortion of reality, you and I have talked about just offline, just when we're chatting about life, that the lack of sleep can cause us to just like kind of be in like a weird brain fog where, I don't know, we're not really like hallucinating, but we're also just like kind of like existing, but we feel weird and off, like almost like in a drugged state. Yeah, just from sleep loss.
Yeah.
Also, they've used like sleepless, they've used that as a form of torture, and there's like experiments that have been done. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's like you're kind of like out of body sometimes when you're so tired. It's like I'm doing things and I'm functioning, but I don't even really think, I'm not even thinking about what I'm doing.
My brain is kind of on autopilot. Like, how am I moving my hands? I don't know. It does feel like you're in a drug-induced state. I've never done drugs. You've never done drugs. Like, we don't know what that's like, but that's what it seems like. So that forensic psychiatrist, Sarah West, continues, one study of maternal filicide, which filicide means killing your children, observed that whereas psychotic mothers often acted suddenly, depressed mothers tended to contemplate the act of killing their children for days or weeks before acting, which makes it seem like if Lindsay did this, it was a psychotic break.
Yeah.
Because it didn't seem like she was actually creating plans to kill her children.
Yes.
She had ideation of harming herself and her children, but that's different than actually making plans. And that's an important distinction to make. There are some very nuanced subtleties in this case that are so important to get right. And then I really quickly just wanted to remind people of the timeline, because we did that like a week ago, but in case you're behind. Lindsay was discharged from McLean Mental Institution after only 5 days there, and it's a locked ward, by the way, that they're kept in, with a prescription for an antidepressant,
You got it?
Amitriptyline. There we go.
Okay.
Anyways, and Pat recalled her 13th medication in the span of 4 months. That's where I got this article. 13 medications in 4 months.
Yeah.
According to the prosecution, when she left the hospital on January 5th, she denied having any more intrusive thoughts. 2 days later, Lindsay and Pat hosted a party at a trampoline park for their daughter Cora's 5th birthday. In a photo from the celebration, Cora is wearing a pink paper crown, watches expectantly as her mother bends down to light the candles on a chocolate cupcake. On January 24th, just like 20 days later-ish, let's see, it was January 5th that she got discharged from the hospital, so it's 19 days later. 19 days later, the kids were off school and Pat had back-to-back meetings, so childcare was left to Lindsay alone. The fact that she could bring her daughter to a medical appointment in the morning has been cited as evidence of her mental acuity. She was fine, it seemed.
Yeah,
but,
I don't think we've mentioned that so far.
Yeah, so that is an important thing I wanted to
She took
bring
her
up.
children to, or just her daughter?
I don't know for sure, but she definitely took Cora because Cora had a stomach ache and Lindsay was worried about her. So she had scheduled an appointment.
Yeah.
So she took her that morning, the morning that the kids die that night, January 24th.
Yes.
Took Cora to the doctor. Pat said this wasn't an ordinary checkup. Cora had a stomach ache, and Lindsay had become fixated on the idea that something could be wrong with her liver. It's very clear after reading all these articles that Lindsay was extremely anxious about her and her all of her children's health, physical health.
Yeah.
So she had like medical induced anxiety, like any medical issues, any health issues. She was very, and she's a labor and delivery nurse. So yeah, health anxiety. So after that appointment, Patrick, in this interview with the New Yorker journalist, he says, had Lindsay asked me to run an errand a few weeks before, her mental acuity was not good. I wouldn't have gone. But she'd been doing good. We went to the trampoline park for Cora's birthday. She seemed to be fine. And Pat says he might have had second thoughts about leaving her alone if he'd known what would happen. He says, if I could go back in time, and this is a quote from Pat, and this is kind of important.
Okay.
So I feel whatever. I'll let you make your own opinions.
Okay.
If I could go back in time, I'd have called McLean and say, take her away, lock the door, keep her in there for a year if you have to. But he said that day seemed like a really good one. I don't love the way he says that.
What?
If I could go back in time, I'd have called McLean and say, take her away, lock the door. I mean, I guess because it's terrifying that she, again, purportedly, allegedly killed their children.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't love the way he said that.
Definitely would have a lot of anger towards your spouse. And
that's true. Okay. That's true.
It is hard because he has said a lot of things, but we're also forgetting, like, this is the woman that killed his children, so.
Yeah. True. And in the grieving process, there are times where he's probably just completely enraged at her.
Yeah. It's time to officially put on our hats.
Put on the tinfoil hat.
Yes.
Conspiracy theorists. Unite.
Yeah. We've already talked about a few of these conspiracies throughout the episode at length, but we're just going to rapid fire list them off really quickly.
Let's do it.
Because there's a lot of things that are not adding up. I think I said in the last episode that the husband was sus, ? But now I am stating it. He's sus, period.
Sus.
Yeah, he is sus. So the fact that Lindsay went to a pediatrician appointment that morning with her daughter.
Sus.
There were no usable fingerprints on any of the exercise bands.
Sus.
The 82-degree body temperature when Lindsay was brought into the ER.
Sus.
Patrick not knowing where he sent his work email from.
Sus.
At 5:24 after he left the house to run errands at 5:15. He allegedly, according to people on the internet, changed his shoes in between.
Sus as fuck.
Very sus. That's like, if that's true, that's the most sus part of this whole thing.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah, if he did change his shoes in between CVS and picking up food at the restaurant. And then the Apple Watch that was never taken into evidence by the investigators.
Super sus.
Yeah, I don't think we talked about that, but it's Lindsay's Apple Watch that is being used by the prosecution as evidence of knowing where she was in the house.
Anyone could have been wearing that.
Yes. Very sus.
Super sus.
Yeah.
That's our list.
Yeah, that's the sus list.
thank you so much for being here. Sorry to end on a sad note.
I know, I'm trying to think of something positive to leave us with for the week. Maybe just this is a good reminder to check on people, but in a real way. Try to be able to be the person that someone can confide in. And it's kind of sad almost that there's not so many people that could say that Lindsay had like a true, meaningful and deep conversation with her. That kind of made me sad that a lot of people said she was quiet and very surface level in her conversations with them. And
yeah, there was part of the article that says they live in Duxbury, which a lot of people called Deluxebury, and it was a lot of keeping up with the Joneses, very wealthy, affluent neighborhoods, and so maybe you don't get deep into those difficult things in your life. So yeah, we're here advocating for destigmatize going through difficulties and like find people you can confide in that you can trust.
Definitely.
So even if it's not your neighbors, maybe if you do live in a place like Deluxebury and everyone's keeping up with the Joneses and very competitive, maybe don't confide in your neighbors, but confide in your mom or your brother or sister, or call up your favorite cousin or a college roommate that you've lost contact with.
Yeah.
The world is lacking connection ever since COVID and the isolation that we were all thrust into. So rebuilding those in-person connections or phone call, FaceTime, which are not as good as in person, but second best.
Yeah.
So,
or just try to be a person that someone could confide in as well.
Absolutely.
Be someone that's open to that.
Invite that sort of, you can confide in me without judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to end it. That's where we'll leave everyone. Okay. And we'll see you guys on Friday.
Yeah. We hope you have a great week.